They say your college graduation is the first day of the rest of your life. My name is Kendall and I just turned 22 when my graduation party, thrown by my wealthy, image-obsessed parents, turned into a scene from a true crime documentary. Amid the sparkling champagne and fake smiles, I watched my own father slip a mysterious white powder into a glass meant only for me. What should have been a celebration of my future became a desperate fight for survival. Stay with me because this story isn't just about a toxic family. It's about how the people who are supposed to love you the most can sometimes be the deadliest strangers. Growing up in the Harrison household meant living in a beautiful prison. Our 5-bedroom colonial in an exclusive neighborhood looked perfect from the outside. But inside those walls, warmth was as scarce as authenticity. My father, Charles, built his wealth through his investment firm, climbing the corporate ladder with ruthless determination. Standing 6 feet tall with salt and pepper hair, always perfectly styled, he commanded respect and fear in equal measure. Appearance matters more than substance, success justifies any means, and family exists to enhance social standing. From my earliest memories, he measured my value by how well I reflected on him. Speak clearly. While father ruled through cold authority, mother specialized in emotional manipulation. Darling, is that what you're wearing? She'd ask with a concerned look. I just worry what people might think. You want to make us proud, right? Pretty, compliant, and eager to please. While I questioned and challenged, Sophia nodded and smiled. When I refused to wear the dresses mother selected, Sophia twirled in hers with delight. When I questioned father's business ethics, Sophia asked for investment advice. Conform or be punished, achieve but never outshine the family name. Exist as an extension of parental ambition. My rebellion began subtly, reading books they disapproved of, befriending children from unsuitable families, small acts of defiance that grew as I did. By high school, the battle lines were clearly drawn. I joined the debate club instead of the debutante society. I wore practical clothes instead of designer labels. Psychology? Father scoffed during dinner when I mentioned my college plans. Glorified fortune-telling. No Harrison has ever done something so impractical. You're throwing away your future, father declared, his voice dangerously quiet. And our investment in you. That night I heard them arguing about me. Mother suggested cutting me off completely. We can't have people thinking we abandoned her. We'll minimize financial support. She'll come crawling back when she sees how the real world works. I found 3 part-time jobs: waitressing, tutoring, and research assistant work. I ate ramen and learned to budget. Sophia made the dean's list again. Mother would announce over Thanksgiving dinner. Her professor says she has remarkable business instincts just like her father, Sophia would add, smiling at Dad. My parents funded Sophia's apartment in full, bought her a new car for her 19th birthday, and paid for spring break trips to Europe. Meanwhile, I received practical gifts: a planner, business attire for interviews, books on financial management. Through 4 years of college, I maintained a 3.9 GPA, built a network of supportive friends, and secured a spot in a prestigious graduate program for clinical psychology. I published 2 research papers as an undergraduate and received a commendation from the department chair. Yet, each accomplishment was met with the same response from home. That's nice, dear. It's not too late to make something of yourself. Father dominated conversations, mother maintained appearances, Sophia performed filial devotion, and I existed as the family disappointment. The pattern was so established that what happened at my graduation party should have been predictable. Yet somehow, I never imagined how far they would go to maintain control. My final semester flew by in a blur of papers, exams, and job interviews. Zoe became my strongest ally, a sociology major with an uncanny ability to read people and situations. With wild curly hair and a wardrobe exclusively featuring thrift store finds, she represented everything my parents disdained, which naturally drew me to her. Your parents are textbook narcissists, she declared during one of our late-night study sessions. Dr. Kendall Harrison, she said, raising her glass, helping future generations unpack their family trauma. We've already sent invitations to our close circle and several university contacts who might be useful for your career choice. The pause before acknowledging my field was typical, but the party announcement caught me completely off guard. You haven't even confirmed you're attending the ceremony, I replied, unable to hide my surprise. Her laugh sounded rehearsed. The extravagance seemed suspicious. Mother, that's unnecessary. Nonsense. We'll expect you home the day after graduation to help prepare. Sophia is flying in from school as well. Red flag. Zoe responded immediately. What do they want? Maybe they're finally proud of me. Even saying it aloud sounded naive. Kendall, honey, these are people who've undermined you at every turn. Kendall. Just the person I wanted to see. I received the invitation to your graduation celebration. Your father called personally to ensure I'd attend. He was quite interested in discussing your graduate school prospects. My father, who had once called psychology a waste of tuition money, had personally invited my advisor to discuss my future in the field. The contradiction was jarring enough that I decided to call home again, catching my father before he left for work. Dad, I spoke with Professor Winters. He mentioned you called him about the party. A brief pause. Is that a problem? I'm just surprised. Things change, Kendall. It's time we supported your choices more actively. The hesitation spoke volumes. We've discussed this, my father replied, his tone definitive. The situation requires resolution before it affects Sophia's prospects. My mother must have remembered I was on hold and returned to the call, her voice bright with artificial cheer. Now about your dress for the party. I assumed they were referring to my financial independence and career choice, ongoing points of contention. Perhaps they worried I might embarrass them by discussing my multiple jobs or modest apartment with their wealthy friends. 2 days before graduation, I drove home with a suitcase containing my carefully selected outfit, a navy blue dress purchased on sale months earlier and saved for this occasion. Zoe's warning followed me. People who've tried to control you your whole life don't suddenly change their tune. I arrived to find our home transformed into a showcase. Fresh flowers adorned every surface. Kendall, darling, you look tired. We've prepared your old room. Sophia arrives tomorrow morning. Your dress is hanging in your closet. I brought my own dress, Mother. Her smile tightened. I took the liberty of selecting something more appropriate. The guests include several important connections. The style screamed Mother's taste. Feminine, traditional, and completely unlike anything I would choose. Next to it hung a matching outfit for Sophia in blue, the color my mother always insisted brought out her eyes. Before I could process this, my phone buzzed with a text from Zoe. How's the lion's den? Mauled yet? Dress drama already, I replied. And something weird about a Kendall problem they're solving. Trust your instincts, she texted back. That evening, my parents hosted a small dinner for early arriving guests, including my father's business partner, Lawrence, and his wife, Patricia. And Kendall? Lawrence asked, turning to me. Psychology, right? Fascinating field. A phase, we think. Kendall has always been drawn to helping professions, but we're discussing more practical applications. An uncomfortable silence followed, broken by Patricia's genuine interest. That sounds like incredibly valuable work. My niece benefited greatly from family therapy after her parents' divorce. The conversation shifted, but not before I caught my father's expression, a flash of something beyond disapproval, something closer to fear. Later that night, passing my father's study, I overheard him on the phone. Better that way. And why did it need to be kept from Sophia? Graduation morning arrived with perfect May weather, sunshine warming the campus, a light breeze carrying the scent of fresh-cut grass and new possibilities. Unlike most graduates surrounded by excited parents taking photos, I stood alone, receiving occasional texts from my mother about party preparations. Maybe late to ceremony. I crossed the stage, accepted my diploma, and moved my tassel with no family witnesses. They seriously didn't show? Zoe asked afterward, hugging me tightly. Their loss. She snapped several photos of me in my cap and gown. For when you're a famous psychologist and need graduation photos for your book jacket. Quickly, go change into your dress. I was at my graduation, Mother, the one you missed. Your father handled it. Upstairs, I found Sophia in my bathroom, applying makeup in the designer blue dress that matched the pink one laid out for me. Mother's been frantic about you being late. I wasn't late. The ceremony ran the exact length it was scheduled to. Sophia shrugged, perfecting her lipstick. You know how she gets about timing. Tyler? Why would he be invited? Daddy invited the whole Jackson family. Her smile held a hint of satisfaction. Tyler and I had dated briefly during my sophomore year, ending things when I discovered he was more interested in my family connections than me personally. His father was a potential investor in my father's firm, and Tyler had been quite transparent about how dating a Harrison could benefit his future. Maybe you should reconsider. I changed quickly, ignoring the pink dress in favor of my navy blue one. The nickname he hadn't used since I was 12 signaled his performance for the audience. Congratulations, Kendall, came a familiar voice. Dr. Lewis, our family physician since my childhood, approached with genuine warmth. Dr. Lewis, thank you for coming. Psychology, correct? Fascinating field. My father's hand tightened on my shoulder. Tyler, you remember my daughter. Tyler stood before me, 6 feet of practiced charm in an expensive suit. The graduate herself. Congratulations. While Tyler detailed his internship at his father's firm, I noticed my sister watching us from across the room, her expression unreadable. Tyler's interest visibly dimmed. Psychology. Isn't that a difficult field to monetize? Not everyone measures success in dollar signs, I replied, earning a sharp look from my mother. As she steered me away, her fingers dug into my arm. Your father has gone to considerable expense for this party. Throughout the next hour, I was paraded before my parents' associates like a show pony. Pardon the interruption. May I steal Kendall for a moment? Once we were away from the crowd, his expression turned serious. Kendall, be careful tonight. What do you mean? He glanced around before continuing. There's a tension I haven't seen before. Your father asked unusual questions at his last appointment about digestive conditions and treatments. Some family dynamics don't improve with celebration. He pointed to a particular tray where one glass with a distinctive gold rim stood apart from the others. That one goes to Kendall. Only Kendall, I overheard him instructing. My sister sidled up beside me, Tyler close behind her. Daddy's making a big deal of this toast. Something in her tone made me glance sharply at her. It's imported. Very exclusive, she continued. As my father approached with the server carrying the special tray, I noticed his eyes tracking the gold-rimmed glass with unusual intensity. Everyone, my father called out, a special toast to my daughter on her graduation day. 20 minutes before my father's toast announcement, I had excused myself to the powder room, needing a moment away from the performance. Taking the long route through the kitchen, I overheard my parents' voices from the pantry, their tone urgent and hushed. Is this really necessary? My mother sounded tense. There must be other options. We've discussed this, Eleanor. My father's voice was firm. She's already talking about using her portion for some community psychology clinic nonsense. But this approach. She's always been rebellious, but now she's dangerous. The foundation cannot withstand scrutiny. Kendall's just a leech has been her whole life. Taking and taking while giving nothing back to the family name. My heart pounded as I processed what I'd heard. My upcoming access to what must be a family trust. A trust I'd never been told about. Instead of continuing to the bathroom, I circled back through the dining room, positioning myself where I could observe my father without being noticed. Through the French doors, I watched him enter his study and unlock the bottom drawer of his desk, a drawer I'd been forbidden to open throughout childhood. His expression was neutral, but his movements were precise, deliberate. My 10th birthday when I'd received a puppy, despite my mother's objections. I'd named him Max and adored him immediately. The connection between past and present crystallized with horrifying clarity. Was my father planning to poison me? The thought seemed absurd, melodramatic, yet the evidence mounted. The secretive conversation, the mysterious vial, the special champagne glass he'd instructed be given only to me. Something very wrong. Call police. I needed evidence, needed to understand exactly what they planned. He circulated among guests, perfectly playing the role of proud parent, but his eyes tracked my movements constantly. Though I couldn't hear the exchange, I saw him indicate a specific glass with a gold rim, then surreptitiously empty something into it when the server looked away. The white powder dissolved instantly, leaving no trace in the sparkling liquid. My mind raced through options. Refusing the drink would only delay whatever they planned. I needed to expose them in a way that left no doubt about their intentions. An idea formed, risky, potentially dangerous but decisive. I moved toward Sophia, who stood chatting with Tyler near the string quartet. "Enjoying the party?" I asked, forcing nonchalance into my voice. Before I could press further, my father's voice called everyone to gather for the toast. The server approached with the special tray, my father's eyes fixed on the gold-rimmed glass. "Here she is, our graduate. Kendall, this special vintage is just for you." I saw Sophia's curious expression as she observed the special glass. I accepted the glass, feeling its weight. The weight of years of conditional love, of manipulation, of subtle and not-so-subtle punishment for failing to be the daughter they wanted. "Thank you, Dad," I said, my voice steady, despite the adrenaline coursing through me. The champagne glass felt cold against my fingers as I turned to face the gathered guests. My father's expression flickered with impatience. Not the reaction of someone excited to hear a daughter's grateful speech, but someone watching a clock tick down. My mother's smile tightened almost imperceptibly. My father's posture relaxed slightly, anticipating acknowledgement. Today I want to honor that bond. I stepped toward her, extending the gold-rimmed glass. "This special champagne Dad selected just for me." "That's not necessary, Kendall. It was chosen specifically for." My mother stepped forward. "Sophia already has champagne, darling. This one is yours to celebrate your accomplishment." But Sophia, seeing an opportunity to be the center of attention, had already set down her previous glass and reached for the gold-rimmed one. "I'd be honored to share your special champagne, Kendall." Too late. The color drained from my father's face. The champagne contained something harmful. "You said it was special champagne for Kendall's." She stopped mid-sentence, her expression changing. "That's strange. It tastes bitter underneath." Within seconds, Sophia's face flushed. Lowering her to a chair, I turned to my father. "What did you put in that drink?" Guests murmured in confusion. "Sophia's had champagne at every family event since she was 18, I countered loudly. "I'm a physician." He knelt beside Sophia, who was now breathing rapidly, her pupils dilated. "What are her symptoms?" he asked me, checking her pulse. "Nothing, just champagne." Sophia groaned, clutching her stomach. "I'm going to be sick." Dr. Lewis's expression hardened. "Someone call 911 immediately." The party dissolved into chaos. "Check the glass," I instructed Dr. Lewis. "It was meant for me. My daughter is having some kind of episode. She's imagining things." "Am I imagining the vial in your jacket pocket, Dad?" I challenged, stepping toward him. His hand instinctively moved to protect his pocket, confirming my accusation. "We need to get her to a hospital immediately. Whatever she ingested is causing a severe reaction." My father made a subtle move toward the house, but I blocked his path. His expression darkened. "You have no idea what you're talking about. You called me a leech earlier today." Whispers rippled through the remaining guests. "Stop this immediately. You're causing a scene." "I'm causing a scene? You just tried to poison your own daughter. Preserve this for testing. I'll be right behind you." My father attempted to follow the paramedics, but two male guests, Lawrence among them, stepped forward to block his path. "Charles, you need to stay and explain what's happening," Lawrence said firmly. "This is a family matter," my father insisted, desperation edging his voice. "Attempted murder isn't a family matter," I countered loudly. "It's a criminal one." The remaining guests had separated into small clusters, shock and speculation passing between them like currency. I pulled out my phone, opening the voice recorder app I'd activated before the toast. My mother's perfectly maintained composure finally cracked. "So is attempted murder, Mother." The graduation party, meant to be a celebration of achievement, or more accurately, the scene of my incapacitation, ended with crime scene tape across our manicured lawn. I rode to the hospital in Dr. Lewis's car, leaving behind the whispers and shocked faces of my parents' social circle. "I've suspected something wasn't right in your family for years," he admitted. "Your father's questions about untraceable substances, your mother's excessive anxiety medication, Patterns of control, I observed, but I never imagined it would escalate to this. Neither did I replied, watching the familiar streets of my childhood pass by. But maybe I should have. The toxicology report confirmed what Dr. Lewis had suspected. The champagne contained a combination of sedatives and chemicals that would have caused severe disorientation, memory loss, and potentially respiratory depression if consumed in full. The working theory, Detective Rivera explained during one of our interviews, is that they plan to incapacitate you, create a scenario suggesting psychological instability, and use that to maintain control of your finances. The trust fund, I murmured, remembering my father's words about establishing incompetence. I never even knew it existed. According to financial records we've subpoenaed, you're set to gain control of a substantial inheritance at 25, nearly $2 million from your maternal grandmother's estate held in trust. The revelation struck me like a physical blow.
Detective Rivera nodded grimly.
That daddy put something in your champagne, that it was meant to hurt you. I'm so sorry you got caught in the middle, I replied, taking her hand. Tears filled her eyes. I don't understand. Why would they do that to you? Money, control, protecting their secrets. I hesitated, then continued. Did you know about the trust fund from Grandmother Williams? Confusion crossed her face. The shared shock of discovery created an unexpected bond between us. As Sophia recovered, we pieced together the puzzle of our family's deception. She had been kept as ignorant as I was, though favored and protected as the compliant daughter. And you believed them? Her voice trailed off. I should have seen through it. While Sophia recuperated, the investigation expanded beyond the poisoning attempt. Financial records revealed irregularities in my father's business, suggesting misappropriation of client funds. The scandal exploded across local media, destroying the carefully maintained Harrison family image. Former friends and business associates distanced themselves overnight. Through it all, Sophia and I formed an alliance neither of us had thought possible. I've always been interested in art history, but they said it wasn't practical. You've been through a trauma. As weeks passed and the legal proceedings continued, I found myself juggling graduate school preparations with court appearances and therapy sessions. Dr. Lewis connected me with a trauma specialist who helped me process not just the recent events, but the lifetime of manipulation preceding them. These are classic tactics. The preliminary hearing for my father became a media spectacle. Dressed in prison orange instead of designer suits, he sat emotionless as evidence mounted against him. My mother, separated from him by both circumstance and legal strategy, appeared physically diminished, her carefully maintained appearance deteriorating without her usual resources. When I was called to testify, I faced them directly for the first time since the party. My father refused to meet my eyes, while my mother's gaze held a complex mixture of regret and resentment. I had concerns when I overheard them discussing the Kendall problem that needed resolving, I replied. I needed indisputable evidence of their intentions. I paused. I never imagined Sophia would drink from it before I could stop her. The judge's expression remained neutral, but the jury's horrified faces told me they understood the desperate calculation I'd made. I declined interviews, focusing instead on rebuilding some semblance of normalcy with Sophia. We found a modest 2-bedroom apartment near my graduate program, pooling our limited resources while the trust fund remained tied up in legal proceedings. Not the money part, but the rest of it. The way they pitted us against each other, the constant criticism, the control. I don't know, I admitted. Some family dynamics are too toxic to ever fully understand. Is that horrible? After everything they did. It's normal. 6 months after the graduation party that changed everything, my father was convicted on multiple charges and sentenced to 20 years in prison. The prestigious Harrison name became synonymous with scandal rather than success. Yet from the wreckage emerged something unexpected. An authentic relationship between sisters who had been manipulated into rivalry, and the beginning of a healing journey neither of us had imagined possible. Autumn leaves crunched beneath my boots as I walked across campus to my advanced psychopathology seminar. 6 months into my graduate program, I'd established a routine that balanced academic demands with ongoing healing. The whispers that had followed me during the first weeks, "That's her, the one whose parents tried to poison her," had mostly subsided, replaced by recognition for my research and classroom contributions. Celebrating tonight. Pride swelled as I replied with enthusiastic agreement. In the months since moving in together, Sophia had discovered a genuine talent as an artist. Dr. Chan had become a trusted guide through the complex landscape of family trauma. Recovery isn't linear, she reminded us during a joint session. Those words proved prophetic when the first letter arrived from our mother, 3 months into her incarceration. Her elegant handwriting, once used for social correspondence and party invitations, now filled prison stationery with apologies and explanations. I never wanted to harm you, she wrote. I was trapped in your father's world, afraid to contradict him. Sophia wanted to respond immediately. She's still not taking ownership, I pointed out during a difficult conversation with my sister. But what if he did control her completely? The question haunted our healing journey. We decided to respond with a joint letter, compassionate but firm, establishing boundaries around our communication. We would listen to her perspective but not accept deflection or denial. We would acknowledge her suffering without diminishing our own. My father never wrote. Even faced with irrefutable evidence and legal consequences, he clung to the narrative that had defined our family dynamic, his infallibility versus others' deficiencies. We approached it with caution and consciousness. For students pursuing art despite family pressure to choose more practical paths, what began as a personal healing mechanism evolved into a professional purpose, shaping my research focus and career aspirations. Together, we celebrated milestones that might seem small to outsiders, but represented significant healing for us. The first holiday season without manufactured family perfection. My first published paper on psychological manipulation within family systems. Some former family friends maintained an uncomfortable distance, uncertain how to relate to us without our parents as intermediaries. The greatest tragedy, he told us during a dinner at our apartment, is how much potential for genuine connection was sacrificed for appearance and control. The woman whose trust fund had inadvertently triggered our parents' desperate action remained largely unknown to us, her memory curated through our parents' selective storytelling. Do you think she would be proud of us? Sophia asked, placing flowers on the grave. From the little we've learned about her, I think she valued authenticity, I replied. She built her own business when women weren't expected to work, chose her own path despite social pressure. The hypervigilance around food and drink gradually subsided, and we learned to trust our own perceptions after years of gaslighting. The opposite of toxic family systems isn't perfect family systems, I explained to my therapy group during my clinical internship. Zoe brought her famous homemade bread. Dr. Lewis arrived with a vintage wine, which we jokingly had him taste first, and Sophia's art community mingled with my psychology colleagues. As glasses clinked and genuine smiles reflected back at me, I recognized the most profound lesson of our journey. Family isn't defined by DNA but by choice. The scars remained and always would, visible in our heightened sensitivity to manipulation, our occasional struggle to accept genuine praise, our careful approach to new relationships. Her vibrant, hopeful paintings decorated the walls of the Harrison Sisters Center for Healing, a place dedicated to helping families break cycles of trauma through therapy and art. Our story is proof that your past does not have to be your prison. Thank you for watching.